Hello and welcome to the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Mike Duffy. And today I'm joined by Cameron Smart. And we're here to talk to you straight after the full-time whistle in Sunderland to discuss Sunderland 2, Watford 2. A very, very good point on the road against a team who haven't lost at home yet this season. So, yeah, positive stuff. But as I say, I am joined by Cam. Cam, how's things with you? You all good? And yeah, good result today.
Yeah, great result, and yeah, all good on my end. Little bit frustrating, wasn't it? You know, we thought we might be running away with 3 points. I actually didn't know that they were unbeaten there all season. So, I mean, that just makes it even more disappointing that we didn't go there and get one over on them. But yeah, really impressed with the performance today, and to take 4 points off Sunderland this season. I mean, if only we could turn up against the teams like Cardiff, who've taken 6 points off us, or 4, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating, but it's the Watford way, isn't it? You know, I was watching it. I was saying to you a minute ago, Beck was watching the last sort of 20 minutes with me, and I said, she was like, "Well, you might hang on." I'm like, "Babe, you don't understand. People like Watford do not do this to teams." So we obviously had that fantastic home record. And then teams can't stop winning at Vicarage Road at the moment. So people come to Watford and break records, but we don't go to other teams and stop their unbeaten runs. So it's something you come to learn with as a Watford fan.
Well, we had the same a couple of seasons ago away at Burnley, didn't we? We were 1-0 up. Last kick of the game, they equalised, and they were unbeaten there all season. I think they nearly held on to that record, but lost it to QPR in their last home game. So, it just doesn't seem to. It's just not meant to be, is it?
No. Although, with that said, we did end the unbeaten record for Liverpool.
That's right.
We broke quite a big record there because they'd have gone on to beat the Invincibles. I think they equaled it, but they'd have gone on to beat the Arsenal's Invincibles record. So yeah. Hey ho. But something a little bit different from us today. Me and Cam, well, we were all messaging in the group chat, and I said, "Oh, there's a chance that I might be free to do something today." And yeah, Cam was like, "Let's do something right now." So why not? I know Do Not Scratch Your Eyes will be doing their phoning right now, so that's fine. But hopefully, the people that are watching can enjoy this. And yeah, Cam, as always, we'll start with the team news. Now, obviously, we know things are a bit light at the moment, to say the least, because of the transfer window. And we'll talk about that a little bit at the end, because I don't want that to hamper the sort of show. We're here to talk about the Sunderland game, but I'll get your thoughts on it after the podcast. Well, after we talk about the Sunderland game. So we knew we would sort of be quite thin on the ground with the team selection. So I'll just run through the team. I am annoyingly going to do it the same way that Watford did it, because I'm literally reading straight off of the team sheet. So, Selvik in goal, Pollock, Chatvadadze, Louza, Sissoko, Doumbia, Deli Bashiru, Abankwa, Larouci, Kayembe and Andrews. And then on the bench was Bond and Ngakia, Ciarelta, Kevin Caben, yes, he is alive, Tom Ince, James Morris, Adupoku, Ramirez Espan, and Nabizada. So 3 youngsters on the bench, 3 academy products on the bench. As I said, Cam, it's not like we've got masses of options. So with that considered, what was your thoughts when that team news come out? Was there anything you would have tweaked, or like I said already, is it a case of that was all we could do really?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. The team really did pick itself. I mean, looking at that bench, it's ridiculous that we're in this position. But what was it? A goalkeeper, 3 academy players, 4 defenders, and then you've got one senior sort of midfielder attacker in Tom Ince, and that just it speaks volumes about where we are right now. There's nothing I would have done differently with that lineup. I mean, I thought it all worked relatively well against Norwich, especially Sissoko on the right wing. It's obviously not where you'd first put him, but I thought he did an all right job against Norwich. He was less bad than he is in midfield, and I thought it made perfect sense to not stray away from that shape today. Obviously, the big thing was we don't have Bio this week. Was Doumbia going to play? We know Tom is a little bit cautious with the younger players, and especially for such a tough game, throwing in a young player who hasn't played much. But he did it, and credit to him for that, because I mean, we'll get onto it, but I thought Doumbia was absolutely superb. So yeah, no complaints on the team selection from me.
Yeah, like we've said already, I think it picked itself. I don't think any one of those bench players I was looking at thinking, okay, I maybe would have gone with him, but I was intrigued that the new lad in goal, Selvik, started. Let's start with Selvik. Obviously, it's his first game, and it's very much thrown into the unknown about what type of a player he is. He's played for Norway, I think 4 times. And I think they're touting him as their number 1 goalkeeper now. And he's, joined Udinese and then joined us. So, not really got that exposure in a league like the Championship. So a lot of question marks surrounding the signing of him beforehand. But I must say today, I don't really point the finger at him. Maybe a little bit towards the second goal, but I think that was more, it took him by surprise, so maybe that's why his positioning was the way it was. But I don't really point the finger at him for anything. I think I saw him maybe shank one sort of clearance when the ball came back to him slightly under pressure, but I think he was solid today. There was, maybe you could question why he didn't come out and catch that one that he punched, but maybe the spin on the ball, he didn't feel comfortable catching it. But hey, look, we'll take anyone coming out and punching it after dealing with Dan Bachmann for all this time. So what was your thoughts on the Norwegian goalkeeper? And by the way, I want to give him his credit. 2 massive saves. I know they weren't spectacular on the eye, but they were bloody big saves as it happens. 2 massive saves at the end to make sure that we come away from Sunderland with even a point.
Yeah, and the first thing I noticed about him, he had quite a quiet first half. Nothing he could do about the goal, but other than that, Sunderland didn't really test him too much in that first half. But what you could see straight away is just how comfortable he is with the ball at his feet. He was playing out not just to the centre backs next to him, but he was playing passes into midfield. He even did a Cruyff turn at one point, which I hope he doesn't keep bringing that one out, but it certainly worked to great effect there. So yeah, really impressive on the ball. As you mentioned, he looks happy to come out and go for crosses. And I mean, Sky highlighted this during the game. We concede for fun from crosses, so that's going to be a big part in dealing with it. Basically, if we have a keeper that can just come out and take the pressure off the defenders, that's going to work wonders for us. And as you mentioned, the 2 big saves at the end, again, not spectacular on the eye, but he positioned himself well. He didn't make a decision early. He could have committed to, especially the first one-on-one with Isidore. He could have committed. He could have got down way too early, and he didn't. He stood his ground, and he made it a comfortable save for himself. So yeah, that is as good a debut as you're going to get from a goalkeeper. You don't want a goalkeeper's debut to go wrong of all positions. So it's definitely something for him to build from.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Talland agrees as well. He says he looked confident and well assured. And a couple of things, look, I really didn't want to come on here and say, oh, well, if it was Bachmann or Bond, this would have happened, this would have happened. But the differences that I saw from what we're used to seeing, especially with Bachmann, and, Bondy's come in and he's done all right, a couple of hairy moments. But on the whole, considering he's the backup keeper, he's done an all right job. So there was a couple of things, obviously, like I've mentioned, that one where he come out from the corner and punched it away. There was another chance as well where Luke O'Nien had a header near post,
yes,
and it sort of whistled past the far post. And again, the bar might be very low here. Some people might be listening to this thinking, wow, you're impressed by that. But we don't see it from Bachmann. The one thing I noticed from that, he dived for it. He made sure it went wide.
Yeah.
I've just got images, and it went wide. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But I've just got an image in my head of Bachmann sort of standing, freezing, looking at the corner, and being like, "Thank God it gone wide." He made sure it went wide. He dived with it as well. And there was another moment in the second half. I can't remember who was through on goal, but someone was through on goal for them, and he come out and again, it wasn't a great clearance. He just put it into the stand. And I think
Yeah.
football's got to that stage now where a lot of people want to pride themselves on how they play, tippy-tappy football. You get criticised if you go long now and, do the ugly stuff. But sometimes that is the job. That's what it says on the tin. He's come out, booted it into the stand, and he's broken up a really attacking chance for Sunderland. So, I was really, really impressed by Selvik today, and I think he'll only get better game by game. And I think it would be very silly now to drop him for Tuesday, and therefore going forward. And let's hope we see a lot more of this boy, because he was really impressive. But I don't know what you thought going into the game. I thought we were destined to lose maybe 3 or 4-0, with the way that Sunderland were playing, the way that we're playing at the moment as well. I think we lost 7 out of the 10 games. So to be 1-0 down in 16 minutes, Luke O'Nien he won't score an easier goal this season. Really, really poor defensive marking, wasn't it, Cam? I think it was Larouci that was nearest to him, but there were like 3 players that were stood in a line, obviously trying to play the offside trap. And Luke O'Nien was just able to walk through. No one picked him up. And the fact that we still persist with the zonal marking is bullshit, because no one picked him up whatsoever. And like I say, easy tapping for him.
Yeah, exactly. And we were a calamity from set pieces all game, I thought. Every corner, looked like it could cause trouble. The first point of call here is Ryan Andrews. It's his man that the ball goes to first, and he's just fast asleep at the back post. And it's a very easy header back into the box. But you're right to single out Larouci, because when that ball does go, when the Sunderland player connects with that ball, Larouci for some reason steps out. I don't know if he's trying to play an offside trap, but not everyone's on the same page with him there. And he steps out and leaves his man just completely free. And Luke O'Nien, I have in my head that he's got a bit of a knack of scoring against us, hasn't he? I know he's definitely got 2 recently. I don't know if there was a third, but
one of them was an own goal under Rob Edwards.
Also an own goal, wasn't there? Yeah,
2-2, funnily enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but yeah, it's really disappointing to see us, continue to struggle from set pieces, because if you can cut that out, then we're walking away with a 2-0 win today.
Absolutely. Sorry, I had myself on mute then, and I was scrambling to hit the unmute button. A word on Larouci today. I think he played all right, but I still don't feel comfortable with him at left back. I just think he looks so stiff and awkward. And what was your thoughts on Larouci as a whole today? Would you say it was one of his better games, or one of his, same old from Larouci crap?
Yeah, I'd say it was one of his better games. He did offer us something going forwards, and obviously Chak saw a lot of the ball today, and Larouci was sort of the main outlet for him to offload to, and that did result in a few crosses. One of which was a superb cross, by the way, for Dumbia in the build up to the penalty. I've got to credit him for that, but Larouci on the whole, I can't wait to see him gone, to be honest. He's another Jamal Lewis for me, and we better hope that this Caleb Wiley fella, if we ever do see him, is a massive upgrade.
Yeah, we are just on Caleb Wiley. We are trying to get in touch with an Atalanta United podcast to get the lowdown on Wiley, because he's played a lot more games for them than he has any other team. So fingers crossed we can get that over the line soon. Obviously, time zones and whatnot are making it a little bit difficult at the moment, but hopefully we'll have some news on Caleb Wiley, and we'll have a lowdown for you guys. So you can watch from home and listen. Just while you were speaking then, I was having a look. You said that it feels like 09 scores quite a lot. Well, I would imagine they haven't updated transfer marks just yet. So doing the math, he's played us 7 times and scored 3 goals.
Mm.
So not amazing, but I know exactly what you mean.
You're a centre off.
Well, yeah, and it's like I said with Josh Sargent the other week.
Yeah.
And he'd actually scored nowhere near it. I think that was only his 4th goal against Watford. So, yeah, and when I was looking for a picture for today's thumbnail for the podcast, I typed in Sunderland 2, Watford 2, and that has reminded me that we draw 2-2 a hell of a lot with Sunderland
Yes.
over the years. Which is quite weird because it feels like, well, obviously it's not a win, but it feels like we never get anything against Sunderland. So the fact that it's sprouted up so many 2-2 draws was a surprise to me. But yeah, Kayembe today, Cam, he hit the side netting sort of first half. That was our probably. I'm clutching at straws maybe a little bit with saying our best chance of the first half up until the goal. But, well, just going back here, Joe says about Selvik. Selvik is the hero in the end today. 2 big saves at the end of the game, but impressed overall. Completely agree.
Yeah.
And then on the pretty much stroke of half time, you mentioned there, Cam Larouci puts a brilliant cross in for Doumbia. And Watford fans were in absolute awe worldwide because a striker got on the end of a header, connected really well, and made the goalkeeper force him into a really good save. But then not only that, our striker then followed it up and won us a penalty. I know Bayo scored a few headers, and he scored a header against Cardiff, which he was in the right place at the right time. He scored, I think he scored another header at some stage this season, but the tenacity and the sort of desire to keep going from Doumbia sort of rounded off a superb performance today. I think he was brilliant. But not only that, to then go and win a penalty shows that he really is something else. And I tweeted at half time, I'd seen more from Doumbia in 45 minutes than I had seen in Bayo in, I think it was 1,914 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to credit the movement as well from Doumbia. It's something I don't feel like we get enough of from Bayo. But Doumbia, he just puts himself between those 2 centre backs, and Larouci puts it into a really good area for him. Now, would you want him to place the header a bit better? Probably, yeah. But he generates a lot of power behind it, and 9 times out of 10, I do think that goes in regardless of placement. Yeah, massive credit to him for that. But then I was just thinking, what would Bayo do after missing that header? Would he, be straight back on his feet and chasing down the loose ball? I don't think so. I think he'd be on the floor for a bit, head in hands. Doumbia, the determination he showed to get straight back up and chase down the ball, and he just nicked it from Dennis Cirkin from his blind side, and that resulted in the penalty, which intrigued to hear what you think of it, because I thought it was a penalty. There wasn't loads of contact, but Cirkin just didn't see him coming and he's tripped him. But there's a lot of people saying it was quite soft.
I think the reason that they might think it was soft, I think it was a penalty, by the way, but I am going to say that. I would have maybe been a little bit disappointed to see that go against us, but I think a lot of people maybe thought the fact that he was heading away from goal and then he got the nick. If he was heading towards goal and got brought down, then Stonewall all day. But that's where maybe the indecision come about. And then it took the referee a while to blow his whistle and point to the spot. And it was nice to have a referee this week that was actually clear in what he was doing in terms of pointing to what looked like the spot or what looked like the goal kick. And it's funny because that referee from last week against Norwich was the 4th official today. So I bet he was buzzing to receive that appointment, having to stand next to Clevs for the whole game. But
I'm sure they were having some great chat.
No, I can't imagine they were. He didn't show cleverly much during the game, so I can't imagine too much. But then again, maybe the Doumbia yellow card was maybe the only sort of gripe that Clevs would have had in terms of questionable decisions from the referee.
Yeah, that was quite something.
Yeah, really don't know what was going on there. But like you say, we just wouldn't have seen Bio follow it in. Yeah, the header, okay, maybe we would have seen that from Bio. You know, would we have been a bit critical, like you've just said, that he put it straight at the goalkeeper? That's something that will come with more game time. But to then follow it up and then win us a penalty was just brilliant. Like, again, the bar shouldn't be so low when it comes to what to expect from a striker, but it is. That countless times today, the ball was up in the air. Dumbia would just pluck it down, bring it on his chest, and somehow come away with it and bring others into play and find other players with passes and think, oh my God, how's he done that? It was almost like, at times, he reminded me a bit of Keenan Davis, how he used to the ball used to just stick to him and he'd pluck it out the air and you know, get others into play. So yeah, really, really impressed with Dumbia today. And yeah, I wouldn't play Bio again this season, even when he's back. You have to start Dumbia, and it's only a matter of time before he gets his first goal for Watford. And hopefully that's on Tuesday night when I'm there, because that'll be nice. But yeah, Tom Delly, the man to step up. I, to be honest, thought it might have been Kayembe that stepped up, but does that maybe tell us that Tom Delly's the penalty taker this season? Because Tom Delly wasn't playing the last time we got a penalty. Last time we got a penalty was Blackburn, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
And Tom Delly was still injured because his first game back was the QPR game? I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I think that's right.
Yeah, so that confirms to me that Tom Delly's a penalty taker. You asked him that at the start of the season as well, and he wasn't sure. But yeah, a good penalty from him today. Cam did exactly what he did when we played Sunderland last, because he scored the penalty that won us the game at Vicarage Road earlier this season. And really, really good penalty. It always scares the living daylights out of me when they do that slow run up and the faint run up. And I'm too used to Troy just absolutely hammering it down the middle. But a really good penalty today. And yeah, delighted for Tom Delly, because since he's come back, there was a couple of games at the start where he sort of he went missing, but you expect that because he's been out for so long. But I think the last couple of games, I think he's done all right.
Yeah, Troy was watching on in the studio, wasn't he? I don't think he would have been too pleased with that penalty. But he's clearly, there's clearly a lot of faith in Tom Delly as a penalty taker. I mean, I remember the collective surprise when he was taking that penalty at Bristol City. I mean, we had no idea who our penalty taker was going to be, and up steps the last person we thought it'd be. But yeah, nice to see. You know, he's still the penalty taker. He's he's clearly still putting the penalties away as well, because that's his second penalty of the season. I think Kayembe taken 2, scored 2. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, he took the Blackburn one, and I'm not even going to try and guess the other one because I'll be here for ages.
No, but yeah, I was impressed with Tom Delly overall, and I think maybe like with strikers, the bar's a little bit low for midfield at the moment. I mean, what we've had to put up with while Tom Delly's been injured, it's the worst midfield I've seen at Watford, definitely. So nice to see Tom Delly come in, and yeah, it's taken a bit of time for him to get back to where he was, but he looks comfortable now. He's turning very well with the ball. I think his final ball, as always, needs a bit of work, and sometimes he can be guilty of holding on to it too long as well. But overall, yeah, a solid game from Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe just said that was our 6th pen this season, and we've scored them all. Sky said that's the most in the league, and the other team that Kayembe scored a penalty against was Portsmouth. Don't forget, because put it right in the top pins, didn't they?
Yeah, our last one.
Yeah, exactly. Ben S says, "Hi, fellas. A point gained. Cleverly is maintaining strong spirit despite the obvious player weakness and off-field uncertainty." Couldn't agree more, Ben. Really hit the nail on the head with that. But Cam, going into the break 1-1, and I'm not just saying this because it's a Watford podcast, but a very, very good first half performance. And I think we were bloody good value for that 1-1, because Sunderland, I don't think, expected Watford to turn up and play the way we did, because we absolutely bossed that possession in the first half, and we looked comfortable for it as well.
Yeah, and we were knocking the ball about with a bit of urgency as well, which it just gave us, that attacking impetus. No, we weren't creating chances for fun, but we were putting a lot of pressure on Sunderland. I did feel we were a little bit vulnerable on the counter. That Isidore up front for Sunderland, I mean, I'd take him at Watford in a heartbeat. He looks like a fantastic striker. Yeah, they had a lot of threat on the counter, but we really did, keep the ball well. We used it well, and something that was always going to be key for us was getting Georgie Chakvetadze involved. And sometimes, we struggle to do that against teams that like to make it difficult for us. But we had no issue getting Chak on the ball, and he was absolutely fantastic today. I said on Twitter that this is just a masterclass from Chakvetadze in dragging your team out of the lurch. And
well, just before you carry on, Cam, I mean, obviously a lot of people recently have a few people have been saying, is Chak all that, and questioning it.
Which
and
is
then
crazy.
There was that game, I can't remember, the Derby game, where he didn't play, and then some people were like, well, do we even need him? But today, I think, was probably the indication of how much he really is a good player and how much we do need him, because he was at his absolute best today, wasn't he?
Yeah, and for all it was a decent all-round team performance, I can't imagine how it would have been without Chakvetadze. I mean, we've already said everything that needs to be said about him, I think, but the way he takes 4 or 5 players out of the game in 2 or 3 touches of the ball, it's really it's like nothing I've seen at Watford. I mean, he is such a good ball carrier, and he opens up so many attacks for us. Larouci is probably his best mate, because he certainly helps him get on the ball. And I'm going to be absolutely gutted when this lad moves on into summer. And there's a lot of regrets, I think, that we didn't really give him like João Pedro, we didn't really give him a good team to work with, did we?
No. And if what Scott Duxbury, this next bit's got to be quite funny to say, but if what Scott Duxbury said is to be believed, lol, then we obviously turned down 2 bids. Well, we turned down a bid from for Imran Louza and Chakvetadze in January. So it'd be interesting to see who that is. But I think for me, Chak goes in the summer, regardless of what we do this season. Chak will be gone, and we just have to enjoy him whilst we got him. And Mark Schofield's here. He agrees that Doumbia and Selvik both had solid debuts, as we've said. He's disappointed to concede 2 such soft goals from corners. Agreed. And then he says that in a way, it's 2 points dropped, and in his opinion, we deserve to win. And that's what we said at the start, Mark. We said that before the game, we would have absolutely slapped your hand off at a point. And considering, well, everything that went on in the match, it is disappointing to concede so late on and come away with a draw. But to be sat here saying that with the team that we've got in the position that we are against a team that haven't lost at home all season, I will absolutely bloody take that. And if we can use that performance today as a base to go forward in the away matches, then I think our away form will pick up ever so slightly. And
I think you're asking for a lot there.
I am, yes, but it's a good base to work off, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Cam, going into the break, we were perhaps thinking, half time coming at the wrong time for Watford. We probably could have done with playing through, to be honest, because of the momentum was definitely, the pendulum was swinging in our favour big time. But going into that second half, we would have been thinking, okay, well, we've finished the first half strongly, sorry. Let's keep at it that second half. 1 minute in, Kayembe tees it up for Louza. And to be honest, I was speaking to Beck. So Beck had just walked back in the room and she'd sat down. I was speaking to her. The next thing you know, Louza just hits it out of nothing. And I'm seeing it go in the back of the net. And I sort of have to double take. I'm like, has that hit the side netting, or are they showing a replay of something's just happened and almost went in? And the penny dropped. I was like, oh my God, it's gone in from here. Imran Louza, I mean, we've talked about him time and time again on this podcast that since he come back in, whenever it was earlier in the season, he's been one of the first names on the team sheet, and rightly so. But today, I thought, again, was absolutely superb from Loser. Really impressed. But a mightily good goal to go with it as well. And fully deserved, Cam.
Yeah, and some of the replay angles of that goal as well, just showing, the way it curved out and came back in. I mean, that was a perfect strike, and no keeper's getting near that. So, yeah, really pleased for him. It's something he's definitely got in his locker, and you maybe look back at the free kick against Blackpool, but other than that, he hasn't scored too many worldies for us, which I believe is something that he can add to his game. So. Yeah, nice to see him stick that one away. In terms of his performance today, fantastic again. He was playing a bit of an interesting role, wasn't he? I mean, at times he was kind of a centre back.
Dropping in at centre back,
Yeah,
wasn't he? Yeah.
when we had the ball, he was mostly sat between Pollock and Abankwah, and sometimes even without the ball, he stayed in that centre back position, and yeah, it was interesting because you've got a balance. You want players like this to influence the game further up the pitch, but ultimately you need to get Imran Loser on the ball as much as you possibly can, and that'll just elevate the team as a whole. So, yeah, really, really good tactical tweak from Tom, and it's really good to see Imran just back to the player we knew he could be after all those injuries. I mean, I thought he'd never get back to that level, but he's proven me and everyone wrong, I think.
Yeah, well, I thought he was done for after the whole Valerian Ismail fallout. I thought he's gonna, he's not going to get back in. I think, at the time, because of how things were perceived, a lot of Watford fans obviously thought, well, if he don't want to be here, then sod him off. And we were maybe led down a bit of a blind alley in that respect and told things which weren't perhaps true and maybe spun a few lies and twisted the truth a bit. So to see him come in and he looks like he cares every game. He cares. The Sky cameras didn't pan on him today, but I've no doubt if anyone was there and can confirm this, as soon as that final whistle went, I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of collapsed to the floor in anger that we didn't hold on for that 2-1 win, because he's that passionate player and he wants to win every game. And I know that's cliche to say, but we need more characters like Loser, and you can see how much it means to him on the pitch, and he's always full-blooded and it's quite surprising, actually. Today's only his second goal of the season. For some reason, I thought he had more than that. But I know he wasn't on loads, but I certainly didn't think it was only his second. But I want to mention the man that teed him up and got an assist, his first assist of the season. So he's now on 8 goal involvements for the season, is Edo Kayembe. Now, I know you're not a massive fan of him, Cam, but for me today, that was probably, I'm going to say it, that was his best performance in a Watford shirt for me today. Would you agree, or are you slightly inclined to agree, or what? What's your thoughts?
What do you think? I think.
Why though? Because
No.
listen,
Tell me what you think that I think.
I think that you think he played crap today and he was too slow and not progressive enough. Because
I think he had a really good game.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, there
Just
are
allow Watford fans to pick themselves back up off the floor after fainting. Yeah.
there are a few moments of holding onto the ball for too long, but on the whole, yeah, I think he did a good job in that number 10 role, just sort of, picking the ball up in pockets and turning and spreading it out wide. And there are a few moments where he sort of took players on, burst through midfield, and one of them he should have drawn a yellow card from one of the Sunderland players. I don't know how they weren't booked for it, but yeah, overall good day at the office for Edo. He's got a lot of work to do to turn around my opinion on him, and to be honest, we can't be counting that as an assist because
It was an assist.
No, it was an assist, but like that's about 1% Edo and 99% Loser there. It's
They're the rules of the game, my friend.
it's like that bloke who passed it to Messi when he ran through 11 players and scored. So yeah, overall he did well. He did well today, but I expect him to be back to his old self on Tuesday.
Well, this is it. It's how we follow this up, isn't it? If we go and play
Exactly.
Leeds on Tuesday and drop absolute stinkers all over the pitch, then that result against Sunderland, I mean, absolutely sweet FA. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Mark's made a brilliant point here. He said the starting 11 today was quite good with a weak bench. And if we start the same team against Leeds and Borough, then they're going to be absolutely knackered. And we sort of said at the start of the pod that your hand is already dealt in a sense because of the lack of options we've got. You sort of have to go with that team if you want to go strong. So there's never a good time to play Saturday, Tuesday, but especially with us at the moment. I mean, I don't know if we're going to try and delve into the free agent market, but I don't know whether we'll be seeing Connor Wickham pull on a Watford come Tuesday night. But yeah, Mark says the only changes that he would make, only changes that we can make that won't make the team much weaker would perhaps Sierra or Keben for a Banqua and Ngakia for Andrews. Ince isn't as good as the other central midfielders, and then Vata too. Yeah, hopefully Vata's back. It's been his absence has been sorely missed, and I do wonder how he would have got onto that. I think he would have thrived, but we were sort of missing that. In the end, we were missing that clinical sort of edge where we needed that third goal to kill the game, and you know it didn't come for one reason or another. But yeah, 2-1. And we're in absolute dreamland. But to be holding on for 45 minutes is a huge ask. But, I mean, we saw Larucci go off and Ngakia come on. I thought Ngakia did well. We saw Doumbia come off and Ince come on. And then we saw Sissoko come off and then CRL to come on. Now, with me, Cam, just on those subs, I personally was surprised that Ince wasn't played as a striker. Because in his last season at Reading, I think he scored 9 goals. And a lot of that was because he was a striker. And it would have made perfect sense to play as a striker today. But Kayembe, like he did against Norwich, was pushed up as that central striker role. Now, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kayembe would be starting up front, like against Norwich. I was surprised that Dumbia got chucked in, although Tom did hint to it earlier in the week. He said that it's a great opportunity for Dumbia now. But yeah, in terms of the subs, again, not much you can do really. And I appreciate that Tom Cleverley, he's not got a lot to pick from at the moment. That said, I thought the Dumbia for Ince sub, it just took a lot of energy away from us up front. It took all of the hold-up play out of it. And
the pressing as well.
Definitely, yeah. And you can maybe look at that and say that's where sort of the game changed hands. That's where it became sort of destined that Sunderland are going to go and get something from this. So, yeah, that doesn't point to... That isn't a mark on Tom Cleverley at all, though. It points to the lack of options that we've got. And, yeah, there was really no one else to bring on. And Dumbia... bless him, looked absolutely knackered after the shift he put in. And Sear out, look, it makes sense bringing on a centre-back who's going to win everything in the air. I have I have my doubts about him, but yeah, I mean, it's a sensible change.
And a word on the man that Sear out to come on for, because I mean, I have to bring him up because every week on this pod recently, we have done nothing but slag him off, and rightly so. He's put in some absolute shockers of performances and some that aren't worthy of wearing the shirt. But it's only fair that when he does play a bit better, we also call that out as well. And I must say today, I think Sissoko was up for it today. It could have very easily gone the other way, being an ex-Newcastle player. Every time he touched the ball, the boos were audible. And it was obviously going to be a tough game mentally, and especially with how we've seen him react recently. Look at Coventry, where he just walked off after the game and his head didn't look in it, and he always looks like he's moaning and doesn't want to be there. I thought it was the absolute opposite today. What was your thoughts on Sissoko's game, performance today, Cam?
Yeah, obviously playing that right wing role, it's not completely natural to him. And I'll start with the negative, that on the ball, whenever he was sort of 1v1 with his defender, he looked like a deer in headlights, really. He had no interest in taking him on, and he tried to go backwards every time. But there are a lot of occasions where he stumbled on the ball, and I just don't look forward to sort of another 2 months of Musa playing right wing, to be honest. But yeah, he put a very good shift in. He worked hard, and he sort of protected Andrews very well. Obviously, down that side, we know Sunderland have got Dennis Cirkin and Enzo Lefebvre, who they're two dangerous players. So yeah, we sort of needed that right side to be switched on at all times, and Musa certainly put in a lot of work to ensure that would be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are watching on YouTube, you're probably thinking, what on earth is Mike doing? Because I'm not looking at the camera. I'm just looking, I'm watching a replay of the equaliser in the 89th minute again. And I'm probably pointing more fingers at the fact that we've let, I think it was Isidore get the flick to start with. Because without that flick, it doesn't find its way to your man who scored it. But I think it was Cirkin that got the equaliser. Without that flick, it doesn't find his way there. What was your thoughts on that equalising goal in the 89th minute? And it really was a sucker punch, wasn't it, Cam?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, as much as we probably every Watford fan saw that coming, it didn't hurt any less, did it? So my first thought was Tom Daly's the complete wrong side of his man. Now, I appreciate that he's being told where he has to be because he's certainly marking, but I think there comes a point where you have to sacrifice that to not let your man run free. And yeah, that was certainly the case with Cirkin there. And
Do
I
you think
also
there's any issue with the positioning of Selvik? Because when you watch the replay back and see where he dives, it's like it's the middle of the goal basically where the Cirkin taps home, and that's where the ball goes. So are you maybe a little bit annoyed that not Cirkin, sorry, Selvik has not positioned himself better? Because if he positions himself even 2 inches to the left, he's got more of a chance of saving it, and it's a routine straight down the middle. He can sort of hold on to it. He can save it with his feet, or are you're not even thinking about the goalkeeper being at fault here?
Yeah, there could be an element of that, but it's always a little bit different on set pieces in terms of the keeper's positioning. He obviously he's got to protect his near post for the ball coming in. It's a question of can he sort of get back to the middle of his goal a bit quicker, maybe, but it wouldn't be where I first point the finger. I also had a little look at Tom Ince here, who I thought maybe, he's not really picking anyone up. I get he's in an important area, but could he have just got out and attacked the ball a little bit before it got to Cirkin? It's obviously a game of what ifs, but what's definitely clear is Tom's going to be working hard on set piece training over the next few days, isn't he?
Yeah, and set pieces haven't been our strong point this season at all. So you'd hope that someone is working on it. But if they are, what are they doing? Because it's another game where we're undone by set pieces, and it's really frustrating because without that, we come away with a victory against a Sunderland team who are very, very good and haven't lost this so far this season. So, yeah, very frustrating. But I think before the match, I think we all would have said we'd have took a point, we'd have snapped your hand off at a point. And just want to say a massive, massive fucking respect to those guys that travelled up this morning. I know I was speaking to Louis Teixeira at the Watford 10K last week, and he flew up to Newcastle today, and then he's getting a train back tonight or later today. So, I know the supporters coaches left at 4 a.m. from Vicarage Road this morning, so my hat goes off to you. I mean, if it wasn't a 12:30, I probably would have gone up. It's only 2.5 hours from me, so it's not as much of a daunting journey. But yeah, fair play, and I'm glad the boys give him something to cheer about. I really do. I really am, because that could have been a lot hairier, and I genuinely thought it was going to be. So fair play, and fair play to the club as well for providing food and drink vouchers as well when they arrived. I think they got a voucher to spend at the kiosk. So fair play, but. Cam, just before we wrap things up, this is our first pod since the transfer window slammed shut. Now, granted, we could probably sit and do a podcast on the transfer window itself, but let's try and keep things as brief as we can. Not very good. I think is probably me being very, very light. I mean, we bring in two. Well, over the course of the January transfer window, we got a banquet in, who I think has been relatively good. I think maybe towards the end of the game today was showing a little bit of tiring, so maybe not best, but throughout the game, I thought he did a very good job. Very good job of keeping Wilson Isidore quiet for the majority of the game as well and getting in his head. So that signing so far is turning out to be okay. Selvik, the verdict's out on him, but obviously a good start for him today. And then Caleb Wiley, injured. So the player that we do sign, did we announce him on deadline day? We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
So the signing that we get on deadline day is injured till next month. So there's a great start. And then we're probably needing another midfielder and a striker as the bare minimum. Midfielder nowhere to be seen. Was it Godo that was at the training ground, didn't sign because Fulham weren't able to shift someone or get someone in. So that meant that he stayed at Fulham. Apparently, there was a defender that it was all ready to go, but he was on too much. So I think the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes boys said that he was on 30 grand more than what our highest earner is on.
Which, the question that flags up for me is, why are you going for a player who's on 30 grand more than your highest paid player?
Are we assuming? It's dangerous to assume, but are we assuming that's Charlie Taylor? Do you think?
Yeah, I think that probably was him. Yeah, I mean, we weren't linked to too many players, but he's
the bottom line is, Cam, it's not good enough. The fact that Bio gets sent off, it's a 3-game ban. The only senior striker we've got at the club is fucking Doumbia, who has been classed today. But fuck me, if he gets injured, what? We play Kayembe up top. Then our midfield is even weaker. Or we bring in a lad from the academy who's got all the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's criminal that we wait till the last day. It's just, yeah, what were your thoughts on the transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, it's needless to say we've been left incredibly light. Obviously, all the talk going on behind the scenes, it sounds very, very grim at the moment. 1 minute Tom Cleverley's out, 1 minute he's in, and that definitely had its effect on things. I mean, there was one rumor that 3 players were set to sign that Tom Cleverley himself identified, and they were all sort of vetoed because we were going to sack him. So yeah, that would have been that would have made things interesting, definitely. Now, the players we brought in, as you said, Abankwah, he's had a good start to his Watford career. Selvik, great debut today. I have my gripes with the Wiley signing. I don't think Tom Cleverley had any say on that one, and obviously he's out until sort of March, April time. So don't really see much point in a lone player like that. But it's what we didn't bring in really that does it for me. And yeah, going into it, we all knew midfield has been terrible this season, and striker we've got nothing up front. Not to mention that obviously Kwadwo Bar picked up that lengthy injury, and we've only really got one natural winger who's injured for the short term right now as well. So yeah, those 3 positions they had to be a priority, didn't they? And we didn't address them. And the biggest thing for me is, yeah, I understand it's not entirely our fault that the Martial Godo deal fell through. That seems to be something on Fulham's end. But I mean, why are we waiting until deadline day to get an important player, and why don't we have a backup? And another thing that was said was sort of we had alternative options that we could have gone for, but we didn't deem that they'd bring enough value to the team. So why are they your backup options if they're not going to bring enough value to the team? I don't understand that. Obviously, do not scratch your eyes. They spoke with Duxbury and Cleverley the other day, and it gave us a lot of insight on what went on. But I don't agree with a lot of what was said. I think the process doesn't. There doesn't seem to be a process really. It's scattergun. It's sign whoever we can, and obviously spend as little money as possible. So yeah, really deflating transfer window. It's killed our season, I think. And actually, I'll bring up one more thing that was said about a banquer being Tom Cleverley's choice. That was his target.
Then
And
didn't
that's
Nani say something that contradicted it
yeah.
completely?
Gianluca Nani said he saw him in Udinese training and thought, yeah, we've got to bring this player to Watford. So, was it Nani's idea? Was it Cleverley's idea? I mean, there's a lot of contradiction going on. I don't think there's a lot of joined up thinking, and it really showed with the disaster of a transfer window.
Yeah, and a word on Cipriano as well. Clevs didn't outright say this, but he said we went in for someone, wasn't able to do it, but it's looking likely that one will happen in the summer. So I think Cipriano's contract comes to an end in the summer,
That's
I
right.
think.
And I've
So,
got a word with Cipriano as well. I mean, summer deadline day, we go in for him. Why are you going in for him on deadline day? That's crazy. You're thinking, right, we've learned from that. You know, they're not going to sell him on deadline day, are they? But no, we go in for him again on January deadline day. And the Peterborough chairman, we all know he's very vocal about what goes on. He said the offer that came in was so derogatory that he'd rather let him leave on a free than accept it.
I didn't know he said that.
Yeah,
He's on a
that's what he
podcast
said.
as well.
Yeah,
So I wonder if he said anything about the on the podcast. I'll have to have a listen.
yeah, but I mean, the fact that you're going in for bidding for players on deadline day, it doesn't scream there's a plan there, does it?
No, and the fact that we couldn't even, as a last resort, couldn't even get anyone in from Udinese.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people were pointing towards that Brenner, the
yeah,
Brazilian.
that's right. Yeah, that link came up, didn't it?
Don't even know if we tried. You know, how easy would it have been to say, right, okay, well, you light in the striker department, have one of ours. You know, we'll send him over, but. It does worry her, and I think the fact that worries me. I think a lot of it is down to the fact that Cleverley is still at the club. I think, as we all have heard, it was pretty much done. This new guy to come in, and if the articles were to be believed, he would have had the funds made available to him to strengthen the squad to then push on to get playoffs. I think certain targets were in order or in line, for the new guy. That then didn't happen. So then you're looking down the list and you're almost in the territory of the Sunderland till I die meme, which is quite appropriate considering we played them, of why am I looking at Ibrahimovic at the bottom of this list? You know, almost in that territory of, right, just think of some names and we'll try for them. So, yeah, very, very disappointing. I said on Twitter that I don't for 1 minute think we're going to go up. I really don't. But my fucking God, whilst we're 3 points outside the playoffs, why not dare to dream? Clevs has done a remarkable job with us. And we're sat 3 points outside the playoffs, having lost 7 out of the last 11 games, however many it is. And you're telling me that Pozzo, who keeps spouting this nonsense and Duxbury about how we're determined to get back to the Premier League. Well, fuck me. We're 3 points outside the playoffs. And if we strengthen this team, God knows what might happen. It might fall on its arse and we might fall by the wayside. But at least we would have tried and had a go. But we'll never know now because
and
we've
we'd
not
be all
made
the stronger for next season as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, what I
Next
think is
season,
going on.
we'll lose Loser and we'll lose Chatvidadze. There's 2 key players.
You could even lose Bar and Vata in there as well.
Yeah, Wolfsburg come in, approach for Bar. Who's to say that won't go through in January? Because there'll be teams that come knocking and Potts will be like, so how much was you saying, sorry? And, it's frustrating. I do really worry about what this squad's going to look like come the start of next season because it's threadbare as fuck at the moment. So it's going to be even worse next season.
Well, look, what I think's going on is, I mean, I don't know if you saw the thread by Lou Orns on the whole Scott Duxbury interview. He basically sort of went through answer by answer and sort of debunked it, basically. One thing he pointed out is apparently Gianluca Nani said that Cleverley's going to be out of contract in the summer. First I've heard of that, and I'd have to fact check it, to be honest. I had in my head he signed a 3-year deal, but what that says to me is I don't think they intend to renew that contract, and therefore I don't think they want to buy players for Tom Cleverley right now. I think they want to wait till they get a new man in the summer, and they can recruit for him. So yeah, that's what I think is going on. I think they have no intention of supporting Tom, like they've said, and I think he's been hung out to dry. And it's not going to be long before we're back to square one with a new manager. And I'll be honest, I think that makes us favourites for relegation next season. And obviously, Scott also said we've reduced the wage bill to the lowest in the Championship. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's something to be celebrated. I don't think we should be happy to have the lowest wage bill in the Championship, because the team with the lowest wage bill in the Championship gets relegated unless you've got a miracle worker. So yeah, it's really damning stuff coming out of the club at the moment, and I'm ready to sort of check out of it again, like I have partway through the last few seasons, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't being rude. I'm just trying to look to see if they've announced how long Cleverley's contract was. But I've just Googled Tom Cleverley appointed Watford manager. And I mean, I'm doing a quick scout, so I'm not for 1 minute trying to say they're hiding anything. But it's not made obvious to me how long his contract is for. It doesn't say anything here about on BBC, on the Watford Observer. It just says that he was named the new permanent head coach of Watford. So it does worry you if that is the case, that his contract's out and they're looking at potentially replacing him. But do you know what? Wherever Clevs goes, I'll have a soft spot for, because, well, unless it's bloody them not down the road and we get shafted again by another ex-manager leaving us to go there. But, yeah, I'll have a soft spot for, because the fact that he's done what he's done in the circumstances. Imagine we had a half-competent squad and we actually had a half-day. Imagine Cleverley in charge of the lot that came down last time, and we got the signings that, you know, Garnacho, who was the other one? Cameron Archer. You know, imagine Cleverley with a squad like that. Like, ifs and buts, eh? And Mark Schofield said a few minutes ago, Cam, you're not tempted by Connor Wickham? For those that don't know what Mark's on about, the under-21s won last night and Connor Wickham got a hat-trick, but obviously it said trialist, and Andrew French was reluctant to name him at the start, and then come the end of the night he named that it was Connor Wickham, because there was a few rumours going around that it was Lucas João from Reading. But yeah, you're not tempted by Connor Wickham, Cam, now?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah,
but looking at that bench today, you probably would have had a place on it.
Yeah, I funnily enough, I'm not convinced. I'm just looking. He played 4 games last season for Charlton, scored 1 goal. He played 12 the season before for Cardiff, 1 goal. 16 for Forest Green, 6 goals. He hasn't scored. Do you know what? He's never scored double figures in the league in his career.
Wow, you saw him play live, didn't you, at Lincoln one season?
I did, when he was at Forest Green and they were in League One. He scored that game. I think it was 1-1, and Connor Wickham scored. So yeah, it's not for me. I know things are desperate at the moment, but yeah, not Connor Wickham desperate. So yeah, but yeah, I think that pretty much sums up today. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave it a like at the bottom. Hit that subscribe button as well. So every time we go live, you'll be notified that we are live. Myself and maybe Cam, maybe Joe, we don't know yet. I'm going to be recording tomorrow at 3 p.m. a Leeds United preview with Adam from the Gone Off on a Tangent podcast, who's been on before, Leeds United fan, in preparation for Tuesday's game. I've won tickets again. Thank you, SpreadX Sports. It must just be I'm the only person entering, but I'll happily take that. So I'll be going to the game on Tuesday. So fingers crossed that we can get some sort of result against Leeds, who, even though they won the last game on the road, I'm led to believe they are a little bit more shaky on the road, and their fans perhaps don't feel convinced by them on the road. They lost 2-0 today in the FA Cup to Millwall as well, so they're coming into it off the back of a 2-0 loss. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything we've got for today. So thank you very much for watching. We'll be back, like I say, there'll be a podcast out in a week to preview the Leeds game, and then maybe we'll do something after the Leeds game. We'll have to see what the logistics are. But until next time, come on, you Horns.